All right, well, let's stay with the developments coming out of that ad hoc committee in Parliament. We speak now to Newzroom Afrika's Zoleka Qodashe. She is our reporter covering that particular inquiry for us. Zoleka, good evening to you. I'd like for us to move to what the committee was leading General Mkhwanazi on just moments before they took a break. It does appear that we are learning more about the suspended police minister's chief of staff. Who is he? How did he come to get into this position in the first place? At least that's something that I don't think we've heard from the Nhlanhla inquiry, have we?
That's correct, Xoli. Good afternoon, or good evening rather, and good evening to our viewers. That's correct. You'll remember, even during the Commission of Inquiry that's investigating these allegations of criminal infiltration within the criminal justice system, the name of the chief of staff of the minister, that is Nkabinde, kept creeping up, and that's in relation to the task team, the disbandment of the political task team, and what Mkhwanazi had then said was an urgent matter that was coming from Nkabinde, when he said that the disbandment of the political killings task team was urgent and that it was the direction of the minister. Now, I think what the evidence leader, that's Advocate Norman Arendse, the senior counsel, has tried to do is to accentuate this relationship between the minister as well as his chief of staff. What we've heard from the questions that have been posed and the answers that have been given by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is that essentially Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi received a call from Nkabinde where he said that because he was unemployed at the time after leaving IPID, that he received a call from Nhlanhla, or from Nkabinde rather, where he said that the minister had approached him to be his chief of staff and that he had no idea what a chief of staff had, what the role of a chief of staff was. And so that is when Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi then explained that it was a lot of administrative work, but also saying that Nkabinde had actually boasted to Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi that he had a relationship with Senzo Mchunu while he was still premier, and also that he could facilitate a meeting with Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and the premier when he was still the provincial commissioner. And so that question also coming from Norman Arendse, asking that in what capacity would you be meeting the premier of the province, and also what you wanted from that meeting. But what Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says is that what he gathered from that meeting is that Nkabinde as well as Senzo Mchunu had a very close relationship, that they knew each other very well. But of course, that this meeting that was facilitated, he says that he didn't necessarily seek anything from that meeting, but also saying that the then Premier, or rather Minister of Water and Sanitation, had approached him to be his chief of staff, but also saying that he was not surprised by this move, also saying that in his not being surprised, he understands that this is the role of the president in appointing ministers to his cabinet. So what's coming out now is details around that relationship between Nkabinde as well as Senzo Mchunu. But I think what Norman Arendse, senior counsel, has also attempted to do is to ask questions around the relationship of Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi as well as the head of crime intelligence, that's General Dumisani Khumalo as well, asking whether they are friends, whether they knew each other very well. Of course, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is then saying that, of course, he is a colleague and the head of crime detection, and so that is where their relationship begins and ends. But also says that, of course, he was the project manager of or headed the political killings task team, and is the head of crime intelligence as well. So those are the kind of questions that have been posed by Norman Arendse, Advocate Norman Arendse, but also in relation to those powers of the minister in relation to the disbandment of the political killings task team, Xoli.
Zoleka Qodashe, very, very important questions that are being posed, but I suppose it's the new information that I think is going to excite at least us in the media to say, or in a way, try connect what is being said in this ad hoc committee to what has come out of the Nhlanhla inquiry. So very interesting indeed that the Chief of Staff of the Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhunu, is a former police officer himself, and that importantly, what has not been answered yet or has not come out strongly from the Nhlanhla inquiry is who was feeding Brown Mkhwanazi with information, particularly confidential information within the police. I suppose we then are going to have to start drawing or connecting those dots, as the famous saying goes. For now, thank you very much, Zoleka Qodashe, giving us tidbits of what has come out of that ad hoc committee, which had been postponed for some time, for a good part of the day, only beginning its work at 3 p.m.